What up, people? Hotep Jesus, we back.
That Hotep Jesus dude.
Spoke to Tariq Nasheed last night, y'all. Hopped in one of his Twitter spaces, requested to speak. He brought me up to the stage. I spoke briefly with him. I invited him to come on my platform and have a discussion with him. And my impression is that he obliged. That was the impression I got. So we'll see if he follows up. But I think that'd be a rather interesting talk. Okay. So we got that out of the way. Yeah, these chess puzzles. I'm used to doing like my current rating in puzzles is like, what is it right now? So my highest rating was 2493 and I'm 2420. So like when I'm doing these easy puzzles, sometimes I hate them because I hate them because I'm looking for complicated moves and they're simple ones. I'm looking for like sacrifices and whatnot. And it's just like, yo, knight takes rook. Good news is I have a new high rating. I'll show you guys really fast. So here's the stats. And then we'll get into the trending topics in today's presentation. Got to give people time to get in here. But we go to my blitz rating. This is my blitz rating on time. You see it right there at the bottom, this graph. You see it says I'm up 446 points all time. If we go back based on the past 90 days, this is I'm up 162. So you'll see like slumps here. And these slumps are like me streaming. So like streaming and playing chess becomes very difficult. Actually, I think the stream was right here somewhere. But I was at 1402 and then I dumped. And I dumped because I was learning a lot. And usually when you learn a lot, you're trying new things. So you make mistakes and you're thinking about too many of the wrong things. So my score dipped to 1257. And I'm definitely not a 1200 player. Like I'm just not a 1200 player. But stupid mistakes, frustrated, moving too fast, blunders, etc. And then I made my climb back up. And I decided to stop streaming. In Blitz, I'll only stream in Bullet because I don't want to damage my Blitz rating. So I hit 1450 here on the 10th of January, and there's just a little bit of a plateau, right? Up and down, and then now I'm on my way up. I kind of learned some new things about chess that I just look at the game differently now. And basically I'm exploiting open squares, which everybody kept talking about them, but I didn't understand them when everybody was talking about what they meant by strong and weak squares. I was just like, what? It was just like, and then one day I was looking at the chessboard and I kind of just saw it. Anyway, I'm speaking about chess because, I'd like to contribute to the chess community and make chess popular again. So through this medium, I would like to pump chess. We have another channel, Hotep Chess. We do classes every Monday and Wednesday. Today is Wednesday, so we will be meeting tonight at 8 p.m. So from about 8 to 9 p.m., we'll go through some lessons, some popular games, and those things are often really fun, exhilarating, and very challenging. And then after that, we do exercises privately, like blindfold 12 moves, find checkmate, and that's really difficult. Especially for me, somebody who doesn't have the natural visualization ability of somebody like Fabiano Corano, who's a GM. Anyway, let's look at the trending topics today. Let's go ahead and pull those up, and then we'll dive into our subject matter. Seems like everybody was just distracted today, and I tend not to. I try not to look at the distractions, and I try to focus on, unless it's a healthy distraction or, just something that we can begin to use for educational purposes. So real fast, let's go to my page and see who has spread the stream today. So real quick, Renee Vogel, I was on the phone with him earlier working on some things for Grifties. Grifties are taking in sponsors. So if anybody wants to sponsor the Grifties next year, let me know, because we're going to do it big badass next year. So shout out to Renee Vogel for sharing the chat. Some other individuals, shout out to Kamar Daniels, thank you for sharing the chat. Guy Wilson, thank you for sharing the stream today. We appreciate you. Bong Bong, somebody else did too. I just want to make sure I give them love. It was Renee Vogel and okay, no, maybe I'm delusional. Okay, so showing love to people who share the chat. Share this out, share the stream out so people can get educated. These streams that I do on these subject matters don't get as many views as some of my other content, mostly because they're just highly intellectual and just, the foremost problem with the world is the fact that people don't want the intellectual content. If people wanted, if the algorithm was flipped to where like intellectual content was more popular than entertainment content, we'd have a much better world. But anytime you put out intellectual content, it just doesn't get the same viewership. But I'm not concerned with that. I enjoy doing intellectual content more than anything else. It reinforces some of the things that I have learned, and let you guys learn. And also, I think it strengthens the community, the American community, more, and empowers people, and makes you impervious to socialist and communist attacks, because this whole money system that we're talking about today is basically revolving around socialism and communism. When you think of Bretton Woods agreement, you should just think New World Order, globalist communism. That's just what you should think. So let's see, trending topics today as we let people trickle in, and if you want to take this time to go get coffee, go do that. Is there an online chess community for beginners you'd suggest? An online chess community for beginners? I'm sure there are, but I mean, everybody's a beginner. Like the majority of people who play chess are beginners. So if there's a community of chess, chances are everybody in there is a beginner. You have to do an extensive amount of study to even, like, I think you don't go past beginner until you're like 1600. So technically, because I'm like 1474 in Blitz, I'm 1800 in long form, like 20-minute games. But that's only based upon like 4 or 5 games with really highly rated people. So I would take that with a grain of salt. On ChessBase, I think I'm ranked like top 10 in the nation or something like that. But take that with a grain of salt at that 20-minute mark. But yeah, I would say just dive in. Get some chess books and start learning. I would start with this book, Fundamental Checkmates. This is a great book. I'm working my way through it, by Antonio Gould. But really just want to do some mate and 2 puzzles. Really work on your vision. Do your puzzles. AJ say I gotta do homework and catch the last episode from this series, but here's some tuition now. Men of Water channel 7 p.m. Let's go. Shout out to AJ. We'll be talking about racism in the NFL later on the Men of Water YouTube channel, youtube.com/Men of Water. Look forward to that. Pensador, thank you. He's consistent. Thank you for supporting me, man. He said, very welcome, sir. And then to the people who cash at me, let's pull that out right now. I appreciate all my cash appers. Where are they? Ryan Pugh, thank you, appreciate you. Cash App $ Hotep Jesus for everybody that supports the channel. YouTube doesn't get a cut of that, but super chats are great too. Invest in you is trending. I'm not even going to say that's a distraction. You should definitely invest in yourself. I don't know what this is attached to. Maybe it's attached to a distraction. I don't know, but definitely invest in you. Athletes National Girls and Women's Sports Day. All women or T women too? Jeff Zucker. What is Jeff Zucker? CNN president resigns. Why did he resign? Announced his resignation to employees on Wednesday and shared that he previously failed to disclose a consensual relationship with his closest colleague. Okay. CNN president had to step down today because he's being unprofessional. These are the people we get our news from. We trust. Damn shame. PMS big game with Seat Geek. I don't know what this is. Shout out to people who get PMS and only get PMS. The real women in this world. We appreciate you. Book of Boba Fett. Distraction. Might check that out. I don't know. I think I watched the episode. I'm just not into it. If you don't got a lightsaber in your hand, I'm just like, who cares about you? Groundhog Day. Yeah, yesterday felt like Groundhog Day because it just felt like the same news was trending. Like today, like Whoopi was trending. I'm like, she's been trending for like 3 days straight. What's going on? It's not that serious. Washington NFL team, they changed their name to the Commanders. All right, who cares? Big deal. Terrible name, by the way. Baseball's not a sport. Fake news. Actually, distraction. I'm sorry. Senator Josh Hawley is calling on Biden administration to drop longstanding U.S. support for Ukraine's eventual membership into NATO. They're still dangling Ukraine membership in NATO. If you guys haven't watched my Ukraine video on NATO and Russia and America, you should go watch that. Really good watch. It's under this playlist, breakdowns. Summer Walker got a new hair style. I don't know. Hey, if she likes it, I like it. I'm sure the internet's going to spend all day talking about somebody's hair. You could be worried about intellectual things in this world, but instead we are arguing about somebody's hair. What's that? Iced tea? Oh, wonderful. Thank you. Oh, shit. What the fuck just happened? Oh, my God. My bad. Are we good? Are we straight? Did I break anything? Okay, good. We're good. Whoopi Goldberg is suspended from The View because she said that Jews are white people. Are Jews white people? It's a very controversial topic, right? Like, I saw this one video on YouTube where our Jewish friends were singing this song called Jews Are Not White. You should check that out. I'm not sure if it's still on YouTube, but I saw it at some point. So, I'm not sure. Sometimes Jews consider themselves white. Like, you'll see them say, like, fellow white people and shit like that. So, I don't know. Maybe they're white, maybe not. If you're black, they're white. For me, they're white. Y'all all white people. I don't know. Do I get canceled for that? I don't know. I thought they was white people. I don't know. I thought Jewish was like a religion. So I thought that like Whoopi was right. I kind of like agree with her. I don't know. But maybe we're not allowed to say that. Maybe there's like some unwritten rule that says if I call them white, I'm anti-Semitic. I don't know. I thought they were white people. I just thought they were a different type of white people. And then she was right. She said it was like Jewish is their ethnicity, and I'm like, all right, fine. If you want to say that, more like Ashkenazi. Yeah, Ashkenazi would definitely be an ethnicity in there. They fall in a different haplogroup when we're talking about genetics. So I don't know. I'll let you guys deliberate over that topic. I don't really care too much. It's kind of unimportant. It's a distraction. People have asked me to speak about it, so there you go. I spoke about it. Shane McMahon. Fake news. Well, distraction, I should say. Judy Blume. Hundreds of books have been pulled from Texas libraries for review. Sometimes over the objection. Take her upstairs, please. Sometimes over the objections of school librarians, several of whom told NBC they face mounting pressure to preemptively pull books that might draw complaints. I saw a book the other day with like some dude blowing another guy. Yeah, that definitely should not be in kids' schools. I don't know how it got there in the first damn place. You got to be a real weirdo to put that type of stuff in the school. So shout out to people in Texas. I actually agree with them pulling some books and actually putting them up for review. I think you should definitely review the books that are available to kids in school. Shout out to James. Have you read The Art of Learning by Josh Waitzkin? He's a guy from the movie Searching for Bobby Fischer. No, I have not. Is it good? He said Hebrews are an ethnic group. Yeah, but what about the black Hebrews? Right? Are they an ethnic group? What about the black Jews in Ethiopia? Are they an ethnic group? And then, are they the same ethnic group as white Jews? I don't know. I don't know. Let's continue. So yeah, shout out to people in Texas reviewing the books. I think, I agree with that. Beal, NBA news. We talk about that stuff on Men of Order, menoforder.com. Hugh Jackson suggests he was paid for extra losses as a Browns head coach. menoforder.com. Go subscribe there for all your sports news. Impeachment witness Alexander Vindman sues Donald Trump Jr. Giuliani for intimidation and retaliation. All right. Distraction. J. Crew. During a discussion at a private GOP luncheon about President Biden's forthcoming Supreme Justice pick, Senator John Kennedy said he wants a nominee who knows a law book from a J. Crew catalog, according to Political Playbook. Damn. I'm sure like people. What are people saying? Like that's racist or something like that. I don't know. What do you say? What are people saying? Yeah, this guy says, "Oh, Senator John Kennedy's racist." Slam mentioning, and he started calling him racist. What is this? I want to nominate someone who knows a law book from J. Crew catalog. He said upon us, no. Number 2, I want a nominee who's not going to try to rewrite the Constitution every other Thursday to try to advance a woke agenda. I agree with number 2. Number 1, I just don't get. I don't know. What I don't get is how is that targeted towards black people, right? I mean, we don't shop at J. Crew. I don't shop at J. Crew. I think a majority of black people don't shop at J. Crew. Gucci, maybe. If he just said, I want to know someone who knows a law book from a Gucci catalog, I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, they're going to be mad at that. But he said J. Crew. And so, I don't see how that targets black people. Maybe it does. Maybe I just don't. Somebody sees something I don't. But, yeah, no. I'm not running with that as racist yet. Ted Lieu, this J. Crew comment from a sitting U.S. senator is outrageous and shocking. And no, by the way, the 21st century folks don't really flip through catalog books anymore. We have something called the internet. Okay. I don't know. So basically what happens is somebody says something, especially like somebody in Congress, and then all the blue checks run to like go grift off of the topic and talk about it and, virtue signal. And this helps them, garner support from whatever side of the political aisle they're on at the time. And then they grift off the people and, raise money and shit like that, But we're raising money as well. Let's talk about that really fast. So we raised some money this morning. Shout out to, we have now 47 donors. We raised $3,261. We have a gentleman that's actually donated $1,000 at one point, and then another gentleman who is donating $100 per month. So shout out to those individuals. I'll start to share this on Twitter. Shout out to people who are showing us love because we definitely appreciate them. But that's our homeschooling mission. So, this isn't like some wonky, political campaign. This goes directly to the kids. Nicki Minaj. Okay, so Nicki is trending about something. Why she has not collaborated with the City Girls. I didn't know she was obligated to do so, or why is she talking about that, but distraction. Gotham Knights, distraction. Danny Lewis, who knows. Mary Trump's definitely grifting. She said she's taking her podcast off of Spotify. I'm pretty sure she won't be missed. Shout out to Joe Rogan. I'll be on Joe Rogan. You guys are hearing this right here first. I'll be on Joe Rogan in a couple of months. So look out for that. I'm very excited. And I'll probably go see Alex Jones while I'm down there and just make my rounds. And I'll probably do Malice too. Malice is in Austin. So I'll probably, you'll see me on maybe 2-1 of, I don't know. But yeah, that's coming in a couple of months. So as soon as I get a date, I'll announce it. I probably won't share it on Twitter because there's a lot of people who hate that I get on Rogan. And I just want to share it exclusively with you guys because you guys are my family, my community. Eastern Europe. So, again, Go watch my Ukraine video if you want to understand what's happening there and the distractions that are coming out of that. Nike app distraction. I don't wear Nike. Although I'm looking for a pair of shoes that are black with gum sole, with the gum sole look. And the only thing I like is Nike. And I was contemplating like breaking my, what is this, 15 plus year boycott of Nike and actually getting a pair of Nikes because I just like the way they look and I need something that I like the way they look. Because I only have like 2 pairs of sneakers. I have one that kick around. They just look like shit and I wear those all the time. And I have another pair that are Supers, but I heard Supers got sold, so I don't want to wear those anymore. So it's like, what am I going to wear when I actually like want to look like somebody who's not a bum? I don't know. You guys tell me. What should I do? But I like high top black with gum sole. It's just what I like. Content creators announced the birth of their son Bruce. Congratulations, making babies is the future. Shout out to the nuclear family. Shout out to people having babies. It's wonderful. This is beautiful. This is beautiful. I love it. Congratulations to that family. What's this? All right, so let's get into today's topic. We wasted enough time. We allowed people to get in here. We got 148 in the chat. And our wonderful presentation for you guys today. It's quite exhilarating. Let's see. Let's close that. Let's leave that up. So before we get into today's presentation, we're just going to talk about gold. We got to talk about digital gold, Bitcoin. I need everybody to go and get an account with Coinbits. We have one of the most, and I can say this right now with pure confidence, that we have one of the most consumer friendly Bitcoin platforms in the world with amazing features to allow you to track how well your Bitcoin portfolio is doing, as well as extract Bitcoin to your wallet if you want to have custody of your Bitcoin, or you could leave it on a platform and we'll hold it safe and securely for you. But I would suggest you guys go get signed up. If you don't have any Bitcoin, if you do have Bitcoin and you're looking for another way to dollar cost average into Bitcoin, then you should definitely do that. You should definitely do that. Okay. All right. Now we're going to get into today's topic. Let's fix your screen up with the slides and we'll begin. So, first of all, shout out to y'all. Shout out to all my Hotep intellectuals in the chat and watching and viewing. You guys are amazing people. I just want to start right there to say you guys are amazing people because you are actually interested in the things that we need to be interested in, right? You're not on the internet arguing about Mary Trump or anything else. Keep in mind that it is a Hotep tenet that Hoteps do not argue with people online. That's just something we don't do. We don't have many rules for Hoteps, but if we did have a rule, if we had laws, we don't argue with people. We educate and then proceed to go on about our day. But we don't argue. We don't go back and forth. Doing so could actually set you up to get banned. It's a huge misstep in using social media. So, work with your community. I'm not saying don't have conversations, but know when somebody you're engaging with is engaging to have honest discourse as opposed to just wanting to push their ideas on you. So we begin. Also, I'm drinking iced tea and I do not recommend it. It is bad for your health. So I'm not endorsing iced tea and I'm not endorsing Chick-fil-A, but that's what the family has brought me. But I'm not endorse these products and I don't think you should eat them because I don't believe they're good for your health. He said, first time here, just watch your Joe Rogan interview 10 minutes ago. Dope. Welcome, bro. Appreciate you. We're about to get into this. Let's do this. 1971. I call 1971 payday. You're going to see why in just a moment, but I call it payday. Now, it's not payday for us. It's definitely payday for the powers that be. So we'll begin. I said I've always wondered how. This is from my book, The Patriot Report, Unmasking the Conspiracy of Money War, or Exposing the Conspiracy of Money and War, as I mistyped it on Amazon. The digital version is called Unmasking Conspiracy of Money and War, and the one on Amazon is called Exposing the Conspiracy of Money and War, but on the actual book it says Unmasking. Let's continue. So in my book, The Patriot Report, it says, I've always wondered how and why the U.S. moved away from the gold standard. After researching the Bretton Agreement, it became evidently clear. Gold was targeted, then siphoned out of the country into the hands of experimental money speculators, leaving the everyday citizen without equity in the deal while suffering from squalor. So these are my words. We're going to get into some words of some experts on the topic and two main sources that I will put on your desk today. So you can go do your own research, and I do suggest you doing your research and reading the sources that I have outlined today. So I continue. I say others may try to gaslight me into believing that this modern monetary system, or money experiment, as I call it, but I know there's smoke. But I know where there's smoke, there's usually fire. Even our own Secretary of Treasury, Henry Morgenthau, has stated, it has been proved, as far as I am concerned, that people in the international banking business cannot run successfully foreign exchange markets. This is Secretary of Treasury Henry Morgenthau at the time. When your Secretary of Treasury tells you that the international banking cartel can't successfully run a foreign exchange market, you should probably pay attention. Next. Says here, what was contemplated in the Bretton Woods Agreement, and I'll tell you the source in just a moment. What was contemplated in the Bretton Woods Agreement and in the 1944 proposed international commodity agreements was not freedom for individuals in different countries to trade with one another on their own terms, but a world in which international prices and trade would be state dominated. Now, we spoke about the word centralization appears twice in the 10 planks of communism, and I should show that to you now. I show this all the time, but I'm pulling it up right now because I don't remember which plank it was that talks about so here, centralization. Okay, right here. So centralization of credit in the hands of the state. Right. You see that? So that's basically that's number 5. Right. So number 5 says centralization of credit in the hands of the state. And so here, this is written by I'm sorry. This is still a statement by Secretary of Treasury Henry Morgenthau. He continues, and he says, what was contemplated in the Bretton Woods Agreement and in 1944 proposed international monetary agreements was not freedom for individuals in different countries to trade with one another on their own terms, but a world in which international prices and trade would be state dominated. So here, the socialists would look at the world today, the communists would look at the world today, and they would say it's capitalist fault. They're half correct. The system that's being implemented is actually communism, as I've showed you. Number 5, centralization of credit in the hands of the state. It's right there. Next slide. So we continue. I said the two main architects of the agreement were John Maynard Keynes. Many of you are aware of this name. If not, this is somebody you need to know about when we're talking about economics. The first ever international celebrity economist, as Ben Steele referred to him, and Harry Dexter White. Now, I don't go into the relationship between Maynard Keynes and Harry Dexter White, but if you read this document, and this first one here, you want to write down as Ben Steele, the Battle of Bretton Woods, John Maynard Keynes, Harry Dexter White, and the Making of a New World Order. So write that down. It's on your screen right now. It's a great book. If you just type in Ben Steele, the Battle of Bretton Woods, you'll see that there. Tremendous document. And it'll explain the Bretton Woods Agreement. So he says here, the goal was to design a global monetary system to be managed by an international body. design a global monetary system to be managed by international body. Now, when I shared this stream out to Twitter and I used the term globalism, I was not using hyperbole. I was not using buzzwords. I was not trying to grift. I was telling you exactly what they're saying, right? What the authors, what the historians have said. A global monetary system to be managed by an international body. Now, we spoke about globalism before, and you guys have a different definition of globalism. What I would call globalism, after I studied the World Economic Forum and their plans for the future, it's actually Westernism, because globalism would include everyone, but it doesn't include Russia, China, and many other nations. So it can't technically be globalism. It's really just Westernism. So I would call globalism Westernism, or the NWO if you want to be hyperbolic. Next. So it says here, the Bretton Woods conference took place in July 1944 at the Mount Washington Hotel, courtesy of the IMF, International Monetary Fund. So they fit the bill. They fit the bill. And you'll read about this. I think this author, Ben Steele, The Battle of Bretton Woods is the name of the document. I think he did an amazing job just painting the picture of what this meeting looked like. I included a few details in the book. I just didn't want to include, the whole, charade or whatever, whole gathering. But he paints a wonderful picture of what this event was like and the different meetings and etc. But I just pulled out the technical aspects of the Bretton Woods Agreement, the meat of it all, and then brought it to the forefront. But I pulled this right here, what you'll see on the screen. I pulled this one little piece out. It says the Wooden Mammoth, right? So I guess it's a wooden, and even in the book, he talks about how like the plumbing was all screwed up and whatnot, and it made noises at night. And it's just a very interesting read. You guys should definitely read it. It says the Wooden Mammoth had played host to the likes of the Astors and Rockefellers, Babe Ruth and Winston Churchill. So these are some of the names. There's more names, but these are some of the names that were at this event for the Bretton Woods Conference. The Astors, if you guys have studied any, of the Illuminati conspiracy theories, you should know that name. I believe he was on the Titanic. I can't remember. Or was that Aldrich? I can't remember. No, it was the Astors. It was Astors, I believe. Tell me in the chat, pop quiz. Was the Astors on the Titanic? Was the Astor family on the Titanic? Rockefellers. Everybody's familiar with the Rockefellers. Babe Ruth and Winston Churchill. I'm sure you guys are familiar with Winston Churchill. We'll be talking about Winston Churchill in later chapters. So it says there were over 700 delegates representing 44 nations, which included a gathering of Colombians, Poles, Liberians, Chinese, Ethiopians, Russians, Filipinos, and Icelanders. The Russian-born Lydia Lobokova said the place was a madhouse and taps run all day. The windows do not close or open. The pipes mend and unmend. He was, right, Trish? Thank you. I can't remember everything. I try my best, though. Also, my mind doesn't try to hold on to unimportant things. Like if I can't use the information, my mind's like, all right, we don't need this, discard. And there's not really much I can do with the fact that Astor was on the Titanic, except tell people about conspiracy theories. And I just don't like doing conspiracy theories. I like diving into the technical aspects of things because that's what's most relevant to our life. We continue. It says, it is naive to believe, I wrote, that our elected officials will choose our best interests over their own, especially when they bear no risk. Some will. I admit that. Some will, right? Like if I was in charge, I definitely would look out for the best interests of people. If Chad was in charge, he would look out for the best interests of people. And I believe all of the Hoteps would, right? Many won't. Most won't even find a reasonable compromise between the two. David Zienteri said John Jacob Astor was on the Titanic, was the richest man to die. Yeah. We're going to talk about that later when we get into World War I and World War II in this book. So yeah, look out for that. That's going to be really fun. So we continue. And it says here, This is still bench deal, the Battle of Bretton Woods. Shout out to Shaq the Mac. Thank you. Appreciate you. Everybody paying attention today. I love it. Thank you. Where loans are made by government officials who risk other people's funds and not their own. They are bound to be made primarily for political reasons that will often be wasteful from an economic point of view. I'll repeat, where loans are made by government officials who risk other people's funds and not their own, they are bound to be made primarily for political reasons and will often be wasteful from an economic point of view. So basically what he's saying is the decisions of government and how they use their money will be for political gain and not exactly for the benefit of the people. And they're playing with our money. Next. Many considerations and decisions will be made regarding nations, their currencies, and central banks. But what becomes of the everyday citizen, I wrote? Will they be able to trade freely across national borders without fear of tax or other calls and loss of profits? Here we have, I think the next few slides are going to be all from Henry Hazlitt. And this book is called From Bretton Woods to World Inflation. This is more of a technical monetary system book. The other one was more of a historical book. The one from Ben Steele, Battle of Bretton Woods, John Maynard Keynes, Harry Dexter White, and the Making of the New World Order. It's more of a historical book. But this one, Henry Hazlitt, From Bretton Woods to World Inflation, is more of a monetary policy, monetary system and analysis book. It's more technical, given into the, the money workings and how the money deals actually affect the economy. It's more of an economic book. So it says here, Henry Hazlitt, the Bretton Woods Agreement he's referring to, is not the freedom of the private citizens of any country to trade with the private citizens of any other. It is not primarily the cooperation among private citizens of different countries at all. It is primarily cooperation among governments. So this isn't about free trade for private citizens. This is about cooperation among governments. Again, coming back to globalism, or what I would call Westernism, after my studies of the World Economic Forum written by Klaus Schwab, The Great Reset. Next. This event of globalization should be renamed, and this is what I call it in the book. I called it international centralization. Because what the Bretton Woods Agreement does is centralize power and give decision making to people who will lose nothing yet gain everything from both their successes and also their failures. These officials, being the centralized power, have nothing to lose. Their position of high authority will increase their freedoms while reducing the freedom of the rank and file. Hazlitt says, if the planners succeed in tying up the idea of international cooperation with the idea of increased state domination and control over economic life, the international controls of the future seem only too likely to follow the pattern of the past, in which case the plain man's living standards will decline with his liberties. I'll repeat, the plain man's living standards will decline with his liberties. He's talking about the plans drawn up by Maynard Keynes, Dexter White, what would coalesce into what we're studying today called the Bretton Woods Agreement. And if you're not familiar with the Bretton Woods Agreement, after you find out what happened, you might get sick to your stomach. You might need a barf bag. It's pretty disgusting what they did, actually. Next slide. Says, I wrote, what the Bretton Woods Agreement did was remove the obligation of nations. Now pay attention here because we're going to get technical. Like I said, Hazlitt is more of a technical monetary system guy. And he says, what the Bretton Woods Agreement did was remove the obligation of nations to tie their currency to a gold standard, except for one, America. Okay. So all the other nations in this Bretton Woods agreement will not be obligated to tie their currency and have it backed by any hard asset, any tangible asset. But America would be. Take a second to think about what could go wrong with that. I continue. With America tied to the gold standard, all other currencies would tie themselves to the dollar, making the dollar the world reserve currency. So people wonder how the dollar became the world reserve currency. This is how, the Bretton Woods Agreement. The Bretton Woods Agreement is literally how the United States became the world's reserve currency. Okay, so it says, with America tied to the gold standard, all of the currencies would tie themselves to the dollar, making the dollar the world reserve currency. This is obviously deleterious to America. General George C. Marshall, the Secretary of State, said at Harvard on June 5th, 1947, the truth of the matter is that Europe's requirements for the next 3 or 4 years of foreign food and other essential products, principally from America, are so much greater than her present ability to pay that she must have substantial additional help or face economic, social, and political deterioration of a very grave character. So he's saying at this point, at this time, June 5th, 1947, Europe is in squalor. They broke. They are just poor. Now, what did Europe just go through? We talk about this all the time, how debt is tied to war. Europe just went through what they call World War I and World War II. We're going to talk about World War I and World War II in the future, and that's going to make you barf if you're not familiar. It's going to make you barf. So as America will be left with the bill, which will land on our shores in the form of a tax burden. I wrote, Americans will subsidize a foreign nation's delinquent behavior. We will reward foreign nations for being irresponsible. I want to highlight somebody here really fast who said something. He summarized the Bretton Woods Agreement very succinctly, and it says right here, he says, I asked the question, I said, how did America lose its gold standard? And he says, by devaluing meritocracy and empowering mediocrity, Tony Atlas says. And I said, best answer, because that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened. By devaluing meritocracy and empowering mediocrity. Okay. It says right here, Americans will subsidize a foreign nation's delinquent behavior. We will reward foreign nations for being irresponsible. Doesn't that like feel like today? This is 1947. Doesn't that feel like today? Anyway, it says the tragedy was that former Secretary of State Marshall, the president, and Congress, completely misunderstanding the real situation, accepted this European theory and poured billions of American taxpayers' dollars into the hands of European governments to finance the trade deficits that they themselves were brought about by their socialism and exchange controls, which overvalued currencies. And we're going to talk about how they overvalue currencies, etc. But do you see this here? It's on your screen. This is from, again, Henry Hazlitt, from Bretton Woods to world inflation. Right? This ain't from no conspiracy theory sources. This is monetary policy historians. Brilliant, very brilliant minds have studied this stuff. And I'm bringing it in front of you today. So again, people say I'm a great teacher. I think I'm a great communicator of messages. But I am a student, and I'm just bringing you what I have discovered from some of the greatest minds in our time. Actually, let's stay on that slide before we get to the next one. It says, let's take a look at how this experimental currency exchange program decimated the British pound. How could the Bretton Woods Agreement cause this currency to go from $4.03 at the time it entered the IMF to $2.80 in September 1949, which touched off 25 more devaluations of other currencies within a single week. So the British pound went from being worth $4.03 to $2.80. Okay, let's continue. So it's the devaluing of the currency. Excuse me. Let's start with an example provided by Hazlitt, which makes this program easy to understand. He uses a fictitious country called Ruritania with a fictitious currency called the Rurita to explain. He begins by setting the par value of the currency at 20 cents to the American dollar. So this is an example he's going to give us, and I'll read it right now. It says, suppose the Rurita has a sinking spell, or that everybody shows a sudden desire to get rid of Ruritas and to acquire dollars instead. It becomes a duty of the fund to supply these dollars, at least up to the amount stipulated in advance in the Articles of Agreement. The fund must keep buying Ruritas at 20 cents. It must do this regardless of whether the Rurita is sinking, because the Ruritanians are buying more goods from the outside world than they have exports or credit to pay for, or because Ruritania is having a revolution, or because it has a fascist government that has just announced it is expropriating the property of some minority group, or because it has a budget deficit brought about by a heavy armament program, or simply because it is grinding out too much paper money on its printing presses. Okay. Now, the real value of the Rurita, left to the natural play of supply and demand, may be only 2 cents. Nevertheless, it must continue to be bought by the fund at 20 cents. But if, as is most profitable, it is being bought by dollars, this means that American taxpayers are buying 2-cent Ruritas for 20 cents, thereby immediately losing 90% of their investment on each purchase, while they pay for Rurita's luxury imports, her armament program, or her fascist experiment. I have to read that again because I want to highlight the parts of this presentation that are the most paramount to understand. He says this means that taxpayers are buying 2-cent Ruritas for 20 cents, thereby immediately losing 90% of their investment on each purchase, while they pay for Rurita's luxury imports, her armament program, or her fascist experiment. So this goes back to what we were talking about before with people that are managing our money with no risk involved, right? No investment of their own. They're not invested. You know, last thing you want to do is do business with somebody that's not invested. We had a deal on the table with an investor for our artificial intelligence company, Wazo, Wazo.com or Wazo.ai. You just go to HotepJesus.com and hit the Wazo button. You see it right there. But the deal was, we said, okay, this was actually a police officer or an ex-police officer who had connections to several potential clients that we could install our AI in. And we said to him, great, we'd love to have you invest, and we'd love to have you sell our product to, you know, your current network. And this individual said he wanted to take a commission on each sale for his company. He wanted equity in the company day one, fully vested, and then he would put some money in, which completely undervalued the company at the valuation that he wanted. And I did the valuation on the company, and he didn't like the numbers. We actually agreed on some numbers, and then he came back later and said we never agreed on those numbers in front of my team. But that's another story for another day. It doesn't matter. But he doesn't show good faith, and I'm gonna show you how he didn't show good faith in that deal. If you're gonna put up money into a company, why would you take money out of that company? Wouldn't you say, okay, if there's a commission of 20%, whatever it is, wouldn't you say, hey, I'm going to take that commission and put more money back into the company and buy more equity? Also, you know, as far as the sales were concerned, we were saying, look, I have no problem giving you equity in this company, but we'd like to have it performance based. We'd like you to, you know, we'll release, you know, let's just say 1% every time you close a sale, right? Up to a certain percent. He didn't like that deal. He thought we were desperate. Shout out to Jeff Curtis, because Jeff Curtis bailed us out and became an investor in our AI company, and we're doing really well right now. And he bought us a lot of time. But again, you can't give people equity in things that they aren't already invested in. Like if he would have gave us money up front or invested his money, then we maybe could have, thought that through. But without any cash on the table, and him, because he wanted to make the cash one deal and then take equity in the company for another deal. But he wanted to take equity and commission. It's just like, how you going to take equity and commission? That doesn't even make sense, right? Like, whatever. So never do business with people that aren't invested in your business. If they don't have some interest, then just don't do it. Okay, so we continue. It says, Hazlitt provides a real world example of $25 million credit. I'm sorry. Let me read that again, because we're going to go into another example of how this actually happened, right? So follow us. Let me see what you have on your screen now. Okay, good. This is where you need to be. So it says here, Hazlitt provides a real world example with a $25 million credit given to France by the fund. So France gets $25 million out of this fund, okay? And Hazlitt writes, he says, to keep the franc above par, to keep the franc far above its real purchasing power and at a level which encourages imports and discourages exports, this merely prolongs the unbalance of French trade and creates a need for still more loans. Such a use of the resources of the fund not only fails to do any good, but does positive harm. So he writes, or I wrote, this system or agreement opens the door for abuse. It makes it logically sensible to abuse the fund for the selfish needs of whatever wants of whatever nation siphons from the fund. So Hazlitt says, each nation can turn out unlimited amounts of its own currency on its own printing presses, with the incentive, which it does not ordinarily have, of a buyer at a fixed price. So they can keep printing currency and printing currency and printing currency, and the fund just going to buy it. It seems probable that the plan could only lead to a huge waste of funds and to temporary world inflation with a subsequent collapse. Now, what's funny here is where did he write this? Where he talked about the need for more loans. So like if you're in charge, right? And you could devise a system where, let's say you're a money lender, and you could devise a system where you create a monetary policy for a country who you sell to them and say, this is going to bail you out. But in fact, it's right here. It's right here. I'm sorry. Hazlitt writes, this merely prolongs the unbalance of French trade and creates a need for still more loans. Think about that. Creates a need for still more loans. So whoever's lending the money to France is either really stupid and has a big heart, or has no heart and a big brain. Okay. So he says here, it creates a need for still more loans. So whoever created this policy and sold it to, these nations, right? The people, the taxpayers, the individuals, the governments, whatever, said, hey, it's going to bail you out. But actually what it does is it makes you need more loans. So what do you think that does for people lending money? Doesn't that create more business for them? Let's continue. The underwriters were either ignorant socialists or wicked money pirates. And this is evident because, and he writes, the fund is not allowed to raise any objection if a nation devalues its currency by 10%. This is actually in the Bretton Woods agreement. This fund, your nation goes, hey, let's devalue our currency and we can still sell at the same price. The fund can't raise any objections to that. You got to keep buying that worthless money. So I wrote, a country can siphon wealth from another nation whom has been responsible with their currency, but that nation can't object until they've been thoroughly robbed first. America, I'm obviously speaking about. This is definitely a socialist way of thinking, or the work of pirates. I'll let you guys decide. Is this a socialist way of thinking, or is this the work of pirates? Deliberate in the chat, deliberate in the comments, but you tell me. You tell me. If the fund is not allowed to raise any objection to when a nation devalues its currency, are the people who created this socialists thinking or pirates? You can't say both. Pick one. Are they pirates or socialist thinkers? Don't say both, because both is not the correct answer. Okay, let's continue. So, since all the currencies were to be tied to the dollar, it should be no surprise that the largest real lendable assets contributed to the fund was the U.S. to the tune of about 70% of the fund. So, of this fund, America was 70%. 70%. If you said socialist, I would say you're wrong. These are pirates, people. Socialism is just a term that they created to make you believe that they had a system. What this is called is highway robbery. We have to call it what it is. We have to call it what it is. Do not give them an out and call them socialists. They are not socialists. They are pirates. They are deceivers. They are thieves. They are dishonest human beings, if they are even human beings. They might be lizard men. Who knows? Am I allowed to say that? Or is that like some white supremacist talk, some Nazi talk? They are pirates. Don't call them socialists. The correct answer is pirates. And we haven't even got to the gold standard yet. This is just the fund. Wait. It gets worse. So we'll continue. What's on your screen? Okay, cool. The United States, as a chief contributor to the fund, would be the chief loser. All right. So what Hazlitt says in Bretton Woods to world inflation. I wrote, when you tie poorly managed currencies to sound money or near sound money, then you should expect the sound money to be pulled down to the level of poor currencies. Socialism is quite literally, in theory and in practice, equality via poverty. Okay? Socialism is quite literally, in theory and in practice, equality via poverty. That's how they bring about equality. They promise equality. It's like, yeah, y'all all gonna be equal. Y'all gonna be equally poor. Equally broke, equally homeless. Y'all keep listening to AOC and them. And Bernie. Try to make sense of the fact that bad borrowers with bad records and bad internal policies were to get loans from the fund and the bank on the same terms as good borrowers with the best records and sound internal policies. So everybody, the people that have been responsible are getting treated the same way as the people that have been irresponsible. What kind of egalitarian nonsense is this? Only in a socialist mind does this make sense. Only in a socialist world do you punish the good and reward the evil and delinquent. Next slide. A grifter can see the opportunity for a grift oceans away. And many nations were ready for this IMF grift. For example, and he writes, nations that were fighting for the largest possible quotas in the fund are fighting for the smallest possible subscriptions to the bank. So basically what he's saying is the same people fighting to get some of the money from the fund want nothing to do with adding to the fund. They're like, yo, I want money from the fund, but as far as putting in, nah, I'm good on that. I'm good on that. I'm not putting nothing in, but I'll take some money out. I mean, who would want to put money into a fund like this? Who would look at the monetary policy written here and go, oh yeah, it's a good idea. I'm gonna put money into this. You just absolutely would not do that. So they're smart. They're like, yeah, I'll take your money, but I ain't giving you no money. So these nations are actually smart. So I wrote, like the typical shark, the weaker nations wanted maximum exposure to lendable funds while holding none of the responsibility of lending to other nations. Hazlitt continues, under a free world economy, with private lenders risking their own funds and borrowers seeking to meet their requirements, loans would go to countries and projects that offered the most attractive terms, commensurate with the best prospect of repayment. This means, in general, that capital would go into the countries providing the soundest conditions and into projects promising the greatest economic success. Under such conditions, there is a maximum development of world productivity in proportion to the capital investment. So he's saying that in free market capitalism, you support the people that you invest in the people that are responsible with the money, and you get a higher ROI, and that makes sense. This is common sense, but it seems the underwriters have foregone common sense and replaced it with benevolence or ignorant socialism or deceit. Credit was not earned. It was granted automatically as a matter of right. There is no distinction between good and bad loans, right? In this agreement, there's no distinction between good and bad loan. They're all good loans according to the Bretton Woods agreement. You don't need an econ degree from Harvard to know that this will lead to economic disaster. You wouldn't operate like this with your own money, but maybe you would lend money if you had no risk. If somebody told you, hey, lend out $10,000, there's zero risk. I'll just give you the money back. You'd be like, all right, fine, I'll lend it out. Maybe you would if a nation you didn't care for held all the risk. Keynes, being the socialist that he is, believes that it would be, and this is the words of Keynes here. He said, worse than a mistake to attempt the invidious task of discriminating between members and assessing their credit worthiness. What? So Keynes is basically saying that it's invidious, okay, to discriminate between who is worthy to be loaned money and not. So you just give money to everybody? In what world does this make sense? It only makes sense in a world where you want to create inflation and you want to destroy economies. It makes sense in that way. So it says Keynes believes it's invidious to assess the risk of lending money. I wonder how often he lent his own money and whether he discriminated between good and bad borrowers. I'm sure he wouldn't have gotten this far in personal life if he operated the way he wanted this fund to operate. Next slide. Abuse of power is laid in the hands of irresponsible nations when you give them the ability to put into the fund a very small quantity of gold, to which they can borrow many times that amount in dollars or other valuable currencies. So they put a little bit in, but they can borrow a lot on it. And speaking of Coinbits, we actually have some really cool products coming soon where you'll actually be able to be able to pull credit and leverage your Bitcoin. But it won't go over the amount of Bitcoin you have in your account. So if you have a certain amount of Bitcoin, our credit card will allow you. Well, let's continue. And what does that mean for the U.S.? Hazlitt warned. Is this on your screen? Okay, cool. We're about to be forced to tower our legal reserve requirements. I'm sorry. We are about to be forced to lower our legal reserve requirements. It would force us to supply dollars even to countries with which we might be having serious political differences, or countries whose trade policies discriminated against us. Okay, so now we're diving into some of the reserves and what this means. If governments are fixing prices on currencies, but the currencies themselves are losing value in the real market, can a currency actually ever find equilibrium without the large boom and bust cycles? So this is basic economics, basically saying the price of things is whatever they are, whatever the market says they are. You can't set prices. And that's what, people try to do. They try to control prices, and you just can't do that. It just destroys economy. So I continue. I said, if prices are fixed above the levels of their actual value, is the currency liberated? If the currency isn't liberated, are the people liberated? If the money ain't free, the people ain't free. Let me see, where are we at? Okay. It is becoming clear that the natural level of a currency is precisely what governmental policies in the long run tend to make it. This is what Hazlitt writes. There is a common sense approach to stabilizing currencies, but socialists hate anything that has conservative values, like paying attention to things on the local level. Socialists are globalists with a big heart and a small brain, or they have no heart and large brains. I tweeted this earlier. Hazlitt writes, if each nation can maintain the integrity of its own currency, if each nation keeps its own monetary unit at par, then the problem of maintaining a stable relationship between currencies will solve itself. This is basic economics. All right. Instead of this, the socialists have decided to make the good currencies carry the bad, which drags the good currencies down to the level of the bad. Is this part of their plan, or are they idiots? I'll let you guys discuss. Next slide. So it says here, Hazlitt, a master of analogies, provides another example to explain the deleterious thought process behind this scheme. He writes, it is possible, of course, to keep a valueless currency at any arbitrarily chosen level by a commitment to pay that price for it, just as it is possible to keep a worthless stock at $100 a share by buying at that price all of the stock that is offered for sale. But when the allotted resources of the buyer run out, the currency of the stock will immediately drop to its natural level, and the buyer will find himself holding just that much worthless paper. Okay, so I got to ask you, if United States is the world reserve currency, and they are buying garbage, where's the value going? Where's the value of those exchanges going? Who gets that? Where's that money going? Because that value is going somewhere. It's not just disappearing, okay? Energy cannot be created nor destroyed. So where's it going? Somebody's getting paid. Right? Because those dollars, after they're transferred to the worthless currency nations, they're buying real things with those dollars. Trucks, land. It's being exchanged for real hard assets. That's why you don't want to hold on to cash, too much cash. You want to get rid of cash and buy hard assets, because money's not real. It's just not real. But a gun is real. It's definitely real. Okay. So I continue. Sound money isn't a hard concept. Socialists make it complicated. Hazlitt writes, one requirement for a stable currency is that it be redeemable in something that is itself fixed and definite, like gold, silver, or Bitcoin. Hazlitt has a simplified and logical approach to the currency exchange problem. The stabilization of each currency must be treated as an individual problem. And he's right. If you guys aren't currently on here, make sure y'all go Coinbits, go get your Bitcoin, because you know what the difference is between that Bitcoin and your dollar? Exactly what Hazlitt writes. Exactly what Hazlitt writes. It says itself has to be fixed and definite. How many Bitcoin are going to be in circulation? 21. There's never going to be any more than 21. No matter what you try to do, no matter what anyone tells you, there will only be 21 million Bitcoin. So we're talking about modern monetary policy. Bitcoin is sound money. Just is what it is. It's definite. It's fixed. You can't change the amount that are going to exist. And that's why you have, you need 36,000 of your dollars to buy one Bitcoin. Because, well, you got unsound money and sound money. Everybody's going to trade unsound money for sound money. Like, you'd be foolish not to. Right? So I'd be aggressive in moving your money into assets like Bitcoin. Yeah, stack your sats, yo. Stack your sats with Coinbits, more importantly. Empower the little guy, because sometimes you guys are buying Bitcoin, and I can't say any names for legal purposes, but you're buying Bitcoin with people that are in colleagues with Wall Street. Like you're still buying it from the globalists, right? So-called globalists or whatever you want to talk about. If you buy it from Coinbase, you're buying it from the rank and file. You're buying it from homegrown. You're buying it from Hoteps. So support us. We're not going nowhere. We're only going to get bigger and better and more badass. And this is going to be a multi-billion-dollar company at some point. So get in on the ground floor, man. Let's see here. Let's go back. All right. Now we're going to get into the gold standard, and we're winding down here. I think I only have how many more slides? Maybe like 10 more slides, but they're fast though. So why did America come off with the gold standard? From where I'm sitting, it looks like bank robbery in plain sight. I couldn't specifically tell you who got the gold, but you can draw your own conclusions and investigate the matter on your own. I'm about to give you some clues and mental launch pads to inspire your search. Okay. So this is some more literature here. It says too many in Congress were already convinced that the whole Bretton Woods agenda was a British trick to purloin American gold. And no one irked them more with his posh perorations than Lord Keynes. Is this on your screen? Yes, it is. Wonderful. Okay. Keynes certainly wasn't hiding his motives. Now hear the words of Keynes. So he says, before we get to the words of Keynes, he says, it was Lord Keynes, leader of the British delegation of Bretton Woods, who declared before the House of Lords, and he says, this is what Keynes says, get ready. If I have any authority to pronounce on what is and what is not the essence and the meaning of the gold standard, I should say that this plan is the exact opposite of it. So L Ruffian 163 has asked a very common question. I'm going to try not to call it a stupid question, even though it is a stupid question. But he says, what happens if the power goes out around the world? How are you going to use it then? How are you going to do anything? How are you, if the power goes out in the world, Bitcoin is going to be the last of your concern. How are you going to use your dollars? Do you have every single last dollar you own in your possession as a physical currency? No, you don't. And if you do, you're broke. Or you have a really huge safe. Or you pay somebody to hold your cash in a safe somewhere. Do you realize that most money, I don't know, it's like 99% of money doesn't actually exist. It exists in a computer screen. So how are you going to use your dollars? How are you going to use your credit card? How are you going to swipe anywhere? Bitcoin is going to be the last thing of your concern. What you need to do, you need to make sure you have some guns. Okay. And I tell people to invest in guns too. Guns are probably the best investment ever because you're going to need to protect your other assets. You're going to need to protect your food. You know, if the power goes out around the world, your dollars won't mean anything. Your Bitcoin won't mean anything. But, you know, you're going to have to defend your home, right? You're going to have to defend your resources. So you might want to. But, you know, I didn't want to call it a stupid question, but every boomer who doesn't understand Bitcoin says that. You know, what are you going to do if the power goes out? I'm like, dog, what are you going to do? Where are you going to eat if the power goes out? Forget Bitcoin. What are you going to eat? Because your refrigerator doesn't work anymore now. You just resorted back to hunter-gatherer. And I'm glad he asked that question because I love answering this question. I love that it's part of this presentation. But at that point, you hunting for food, dog. You fishing. You're not worried about Bitcoin, dollars, money. Please, people, don't ask that question. You know, let that be a lesson. All right, let's continue. I feel bad for people that ask that question. It's just like, are you thinking? Are you actually thinking, or do you just want to hate Bitcoin? You must like Wall Street. You must like Lord Keynes. You must like socialism and communism if you want to hate on Bitcoin. You just don't get it. Just say, I don't get it. Just say, I don't get it. And then we'll explain it to you. But the same people who it's the same mind that said that the internet would never work. And look at where we are. The same minds, like when the internet first came out, people were like, oh, this is a place where fringe people hang out. Bitcoin came out. This is a fringe currency where fringe people use. Right? They said the same thing. And you're looking at me right now on the internet. Technology, man, technology. It's coming. And the people who don't adjust to it fast enough is actually boomers and conservatives. They have a slow adoption. And there's a lot of people that corroborate. I mean, you look at the NFT space and you got Bannon and his Trump, the McNifty NFTs. They don't move as fast as other NFTs because, their base just doesn't get it. They just don't get technology. They've never even opened up a MetaMask wallet. V, thank you. Said loving these presentations, much appreciated. Thank you for paying the tuition. You are the real MVP. Okay, so where are we now? Okay, next slide. On April 5th, 1933, FDR basically outlawed the private possession of gold. And Ben Still writes, Roosevelt also banned. Do you see this on your screen? Okay, here we go. Roosevelt also banned hoarding of the metal by private citizens while mandating it at the national level. Hold on. Let me get y'all right. I'm sorry, y'all. All right. While mandating. So he said, FDR said, oh, you, rank and file, everyday individual, blue collar and white collar worker, yeah, nah, you can't have gold. But us, we got all the gold. Paul asks a great question. He says, what remains unanswered? What backs Bitcoin? What makes it worth anything? All right, so there's the two questions that I'm ready to answer. So what backs Bitcoin? And the answer is the earth. And I'll explain that in a second. But first, I'm going to answer your second question. It says, what makes it worth anything? What makes anything worth anything? What makes gold worth anything? What makes silver worth anything? What makes copper worth anything? First of all, it has to do with rarity. But what makes one stock worth more than another? Right? You'll look at corporations like GM, or Ford, right? Let's look up Ford. Let's look up the stock ticker on Ford. Let's do that right now. And I'll show you right now. Ford Motors, right? This is a company that's been out forever, right? And it currently trades at $20. You can buy Ford stock. I wouldn't suggest buying this stock, but you can buy Ford stock at $20. But you can buy Netflix at $428, right? Let's look at Facebook. Facebook stock is at $322. Twitter is at, what is that, 30 something, I think? $36.51, right? Now, all of these companies have different market caps or market capitalizations. You'll have companies that have a larger market capitalization, but a lower stock price. So I got to ask you, and pause the video to think about this. What gives a stock its value? What gives a stock its value? Emotions, human emotions. Human emotions give everything value. How you feel about it, how your cohort feels about it, how the people in your society choose what they trade with and what they don't trade with. This is based upon the human ego. Okay? So when you ask, where's that question? What makes it worth anything? You first have to ask yourself, what makes anything worth anything? Once you can answer that, then you know why Bitcoin is worth anything. Because people say it is. Because that's how we feel about it. Because people are using it. Now I'm going to go back to the previous question. Because what makes Bitcoin worth anything? And I don't like to thank you, Paul, first of all, for the question. And I'm not, this is not a diss, but it's not a stupid question. I shouldn't call it a stupid question because it's not a stupid question. It's just a stupid question to me because I know about investing. And if you don't know about investing, like, you just know what gives things its value, right? So it's not a stupid question. Thank you for asking that question. And he says, what backs Bitcoin? And I said the earth, because in order to mine Bitcoin, you need power, right? So is power free, chat? Is power free? Does anybody here get power free, or do you have to pay for it? Now, Tesla, Nikola Tesla, not Elon, Nikola Tesla said he could make power free for everyone, right? He said he could make power free for everyone. So is power free? It could be, I don't know. But in the world we live in today, under the powers that be, power isn't free. So the people that are mining Bitcoin are actually paying for the power to mine Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is backed by the earth. It's backed by this planet and its ability to draw energy from it. Okay? So when somebody asks you, what's Bitcoin backed by? Tell them the earth. I hope that answered your question thoroughly and completely. Thank you for the question. I love Bitcoin questions because people need to get educated on the Bitcoin. But it's really not a complicated subject once you understand the fundamentals of it all. Yeah. Okay. So let's continue. Where are we? What slide are y'all on? Okay. Roosevelt. Okay. So it says Roosevelt also banned hoarding of the metal by private citizens while mandating it at the national level. He signed an Ben Steele writes, he signed an executive order. Hope that says Ben Steele on your screen. It doesn't. Damn. This is supposed to be Ben Steele. Delete. I'll replace that another time. So Ben Steele writes, he signed an executive order on April 5th requiring all, I'm sorry, let me say that again, because, you know, some white people, they're really like pretentious. 5th. You know, black people say 5th. 5th. April 5th. Just so people know I understand how to say these things. My mama wouldn't like me to say 5th, but I say 5th. It just is what it is. On April 5th, requiring all domestic gold coins, bullion, and certificates to be delivered up to the Federal Reserve banks and forbade its export. If you judge people by how they speak, you'll miss out on a lot of truly brilliant minds, just as a fair warning. On June 5, Congress took the dramatic step of abrogating the gold payment caused in public and private contracts, legally severing the dollar from its gold mooring, a highly controversial step that was barely held up in a 5-4 Supreme Court decision in February 1935. Imagine that. SCOTUS voted on this. And with a 5-4 majority, we got this nonsense. So on May 1, the gold price was set to $20.67 per ounce. Now they set a price, okay? Again, we talked about setting prices. Now here's where you're about to barf. Are you guys ready? It's about to get ugly. The president suggested that gold should go up 21 cents. He says it's a lucky number, he explained, chuckling, because it's 3 times 7. He continues, if anybody ever knew how we really set the gold price through a combination of lucky numbers, I think they would be frightened. Bro, they literally pulled the number out their ass. Literally. 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 These are the people in charge of our lives. These are people. Forget our lives. They're not in charge of our lives. They are in charge of the tax money they take from us. Let me be very specific. We use exact language on this channel, and that was not exact language, so I correct myself. These are the people responsible with the money that they take from us. The money that they take from us forcibly with guns. This is what they do with it. This is what they do with it. Oh, it's a lucky number. Oh, ho, 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 ho. Hold on, let me show you this picture really fast. Here they go. Here they go, right here. This is them right here laughing. This is them laughing at us. This is them laughing at us. They think it's funny. Let's go back. And that's from that quote right there. If anybody ever knew how we really set the gold price through a combination of lucky numbers, I think they would be frightened. This is a quote from Secretary of Treasury Henry Morgenthau. I continue. I said, if gold was a concern, the U.S. should never have entered into the Bretton Woods agreement since. Hope this is on your screen. Yep. The American dollar alone was to be convertible into a fixed amount. 1/35 of an ounce of gold on demand. How is it not absolutely insane to relieve every other country of the obligation to back the currency with gold, then back those currencies with the only currency to be somewhat backed by gold? I repeat, how is it not absolutely insane to relieve every other country of the obligation to back their currency with gold, then back those same currencies with the only currency to be somewhat backed by gold? That's like trading real cash for fake money in a child's board game. It's literally the same thing. Hazlitt pleads a strong case for free market trade and the gold standard. He writes, there will be no long-term economic stability and no real freedom of the international trade until nations go back to the gold standard. But the first step toward the resumption of free and normal international trade is the removal of all prohibitions on the rate at which the existing paper currency is bought and sold, either in terms of gold or of other currencies. Remember when I told you that if the money ain't free, the people ain't free. And right here, Hazlitt is saying the removal of all prohibitions on the rate at which the existing paper currency is bought and sold, either in terms of gold and other currencies. When people ask me, hey, what would you do after you're in power? At one point, I said something that was mildly ignorant, and I said I would repeal many laws and policies. And then I was watching the late and great who we are honoring today for Black History Month. Every day we do these streams, we're going to try and honor somebody as long as I can remember to do it. Today we're honoring Walter E. Williams, but the great Walter E. Williams, what did he say? The great Walter E. Williams said he would roll back every single executive order. Now, because I don't understand politics as well as most, and especially not as well as Walter E. Williams, he was very specific. He said executive orders, whereas I was just like, laws and policies, and like, where do you start with that? But he literally knew where he wanted to start, right? He literally wanted to start with I see gematria in the chat. Gematria, what's the gematria on them numbers? Give me the gematria on these numbers. He said it should go up 21 cents. What's the gematria on 21? What's the gematria on the number 35 per ounce? And 7 times 3. Give me the gematria on that. And then pop it in the chat. Okay, where are we? Yes, okay, let's continue. We're almost done now. Only a few more slides. Hazlitt continues. He said, it is Devoutly to be hoped, therefore, that the moment our government does openly cease to keep the dollar convertible into gold at $35 an ounce, it will at least simultaneously repeal all prohibitions on the buying, selling, or holding of gold by its own citizens. Hazlitt makes a plea for the freedom of the frank and file. He pleads to at least let the average citizen trade in gold, but it seems the government has set up a monopoly on metallic coinage and trade. What is the true price of gold? The honest response is, I'm going to let the chat deliberate. What is the true price of gold? What is the true price of gold? Okay, I'm going to tell you in a second. If somebody asks you what the true price of gold, thank you, Mozart. Thank you, Mozart. Mozart has given me some gematria decoding in the chat. You are a good MVP. You guys ready? What is the true price of gold? When somebody asks you what is the true price of gold, you tell them, I don't know. The price of gold is whatever the price two parties agree upon. That is the price of gold. Whatever two parties agree it is. That is called free market. If free trade were allowed, gold prices, if free trade were allowed, gold prices would be much more stable than the clumsy Keynesian economics model. This idea of fixing progress is malignant and artificial nuisance, I wrote. The present world monetary system is not a natural growth like the old international gold standard, but an arbitrary scheme devised by a handful of monetary bureaucrats who did not even agree with each other. An arbitrary scheme. Arbitrary, just completely random. Oh, let's just throw this shit together. An arbitrary scheme devised by a handful of monetary bureaucrats who did not even agree with each other. If you want something to be good for the people and free of the air of human ego, decentralize it. What is Bitcoin? Decentralized. Bitcoin is literally decentralized. Free it from being controlled. Bitcoin operates like this. The gold standard operates like this. Hazlitt cites 1817 work from David Ricardo. And he says, experience shows that neither a state nor a bank ever has had the unrestricted power of issuing paper money without abusing that power. Experience shows that neither a state nor a bank has ever had the unrestricted power of issuing paper money without abusing that power. He's basically saying if anytime you had a state or a bank who you said, look, you can do whatever you want with this without any repercussions, they have never not abused that power. They have never not abused that power. Okay? Never not abused that power. In all states, therefore, the issue of paper money ought to be under some check and control. And none seems so proper for that purpose as that of subjecting the issuers of paper money to the obligation of paying their notes either in gold coin or bullion. So for the people unfamiliar, this is from my title, The Patriot Report, Unmasking the Conspiracy of Money in the War and Money in War. I'll bring that up on your screen right now. Excuse me. I appreciate your support and everybody who purchased a copy. You guys are truly wonderful people. So here it is, The Patriot Report, The Conspiracy of Money and War, written by yours truly. And that's what we are reading from today. So if you want, you can go to Amazon, go get yourself a copy. Put a lot of work into this wonderful document. And this is the Patriot Report series. I'm not done yet. We still have more in this presentation. I'm just using this time as advertising, obviously. But we have a few more interesting topics to discuss as far as the Patriot Report is concerned. We still haven't gotten to the war section. This is all the money section of the book, and we're going to get into the war section after this, more specifically World War I and World War II. We'll talk about some of the corruption and Illuminati things and New World Order globalist plots behind all of that, which will make many of you uneasy. Let's go. So the idea that a group of politicians who are funded by private interests can somehow manage an economy honestly and in the best interest of all is ludicrous. These are my words. When you make room for corruption, there will be corruption. And there is too much room for corruption in the field of socialist economics. Socialist economics, like, literally creates the perfect petri dish for corruption. It's literally what it does. All they're doing is like saying, hey, you want to just have all the power to control the world? Yeah, here we go. It's called communism. Communism will literally give you the power to control a nation or a group of people. That's what it does. That's what it does. I don't care about what they say about, the means of labor owned by the people. Yeah, that's the ruse. That's what they tell people it means. What socialism literally means is handing over control to a small group of people. That's really what it means. I mean, even as a family, right? Like, a family is technically communism, but who has control? Mom and dad, a small group of people. No matter how many kids they have, the power is going to be mom and dad until, like, one of the children grows up and then they join, but then it's still the minority. It's like 3 people, like the older brother, the mom and dad, they call all the shots, and then everybody else is subject to their whim. It just so happens that the family, everybody has interest in each other's interests for the most part, right? So it's much different than, dealing with people you don't know and aren't family. Hazard cites Ludwig von Mises. Shout out to people that know about Mises. Mises says, the excellence of the gold standard is to be seen in the fact that it renders the determination of the monetary unit's purchasing power independent of the policies of governments and political parties. It's a powerful sentence right there. He said the gold standard basically allows you to just circumvent evil. It's like, no matter what the government does, with the money tied to with the currency tied to the gold, right? Because I tell people all the time, like, fiat's not technically bad, right? There's nothing wrong with fiat. It's wrong with fiat when you start manipulating it, and that's what people just don't understand, right? Because fiat can be useful as long as you keep everything tied up 1-to-1 and it's fair, right? So that's a powerful statement by Mises, right? Hazlitt warns of massive inflation, but the socialist celebrity economists make the calls. This socialist nightmare called the Bretton Woods Agreement came to a crashing end during the Nixon shock. Maybe the agreement made, write that down, Nixon shock, go do your research on that. Maybe the agreement made cause for the Nixon shock, I argue. Foreign nations began runs on the dollar for fear of devaluation. Basically, the market was alerted to the massive inflation. Germany left the Bretton Agreement in May 1971, which dropped the dollar 7.5% against the Deutschmark. Now, remember what I called this presentation, the beginning of the presentation? What did I call it? Payday, right? Payday. Want me to show you something? I'm going to show you something crazy. People always ask, they say, where's America's gold reserves? Is it in Fort Knox? Is it in Fort Dix? Because of the Bretton Woods Agreement, I would argue it ain't here. It ain't in our possession. That's what I would argue, right? Y'all seen that? Yes or no in the chat? Have you always heard this argument or this discussion or speculation on where is the gold? Right? Where is the gold, right? I'm going to show you right here where the gold may have been. Check this out. Check this shit out. In July, Switzerland redeemed $50 million worth of gold. France followed with $191 million in gold. For an exclusive few, 1971 was a payday. It was a payday. Let's put this into perspective. Bretton Woods Agreement took a bunch of irresponsible nations, tied their currency to a semi-responsible nation, America, the dollar. We were supposed to lend these countries with taxpayer money. We were supposed to lend to these nations. These nations would then have dollars in their possession, being able to buy dollars with their cheap, inflated currency. And then later on, redeem those same dollars that they traded fake money for in gold. I don't even know how y'all still participate in government after seeing this shit. I'm surprised people haven't burned this nation down. I am really surprised. Actually, I'm not, because, well, you know, mainstream media keeps a good job of keeping us sedated. Miss Rogers, Janice Rogers Brown, says that big government is the opiate. The opiate of the masses is what she said, quote unquote. The opiate of the masses of the masses. Natasha, you funny. What a shout out to Natasha Kayleen. T-Ball says we were stolen from. How many people here feel like they understand the Bretton Woods Agreement now? Let's run a poll really fast. Do you feel like you understand the Bretton Woods Agreement? No. He said the gold was turned into debt. Japan, Germany, and China own most of the U.S. debt, while IMF keeps international trade on U.S. DICK as racketeering. Christopher P. Creation says the gold is hidden in new development structures. I'm going to have to respectfully disagree. See, that's what I think they do, right? So people say, oh my God, you're on the internet talking about all these conspiracy theories. Many of the conspiracy theories are distractions from the real conspiracy, right? So people have run around talking about, oh, where the gold went. It's here. It's, it's next to Jimmy Hoffa, right? It's buried with Jimmy Hoffa. Right? People will speculate on where the gold is, completely missing the point. It ain't here, I would speculate. The Bretton Woods Agreement siphoned the gold out of the country. Into what banks and what institutions? We have to ask. Somebody would have to audit this. Tasha Kayleen said, Hotep Jesus is the teacher I want my son to be. Your son's going to be a great, great man. He said, why is gold so valuable as an element? It creates flying spaceships or something. So yeah, I think that we're diving into the world of science, and I think gold has a lot to do with electrical conductivity. Let's take a look at that. Let's fact check my knowledge base. Let's see. Okay, so let's look here. I'll pull this up on your screen. So according to this article, it says the most conductive elements are silver, copper, gold, then aluminum, beryllium, calcium, magnesium, rhodium, sodium, and iridium. Iridium. So gold is the third most conductive metal. Also, you'll see copper. You'll have people who will like go to abandoned houses and gut the copper out and go sell the copper, right? So I think it's a matter of this. I'm not no scientist or science expert, as far as this is concerned. I'm more of a social scientist, but that's something I would venture to say you should look into. That's what I speculate. I speculate that gold is rare, and maybe more rare than copper. He said gold is better and more durable than copper. Yeah, also true. Thank you, Dave. Yeah. So you have something like copper, which is more fickle, but if David said conductivity is also heat resistance. See, David knows his science stuff. David said gold is one of the best materials for electronics. Yeah. Pensitor, you agree, right? It's about its conductivity. Yeah, that's my guess. Pensitor said gold's electrical resistivity is 0.022 microohms at 20 degrees Celsius, and its thermal conductivity is at 310 watts M1 K1 at the same. Yeah, that's way over my head. But yeah, I think it has to do with that. Gold maintains conductivity better than copper, David says. Yeah, it maintains, right, because of its durability. Then it says the corrosion resistance of gold is possibly one of its most valuable properties. Also a good point. You're right. Yeah, you're not going to experience corrosion with gold. You're right. Copper, you will, right? I believe copper, you'll experience corrosion much faster than gold. Oh, Sister Otis says gold is the only element in the world that doesn't decay. Is that true? I'm going to look that up. This is why I tell people, like, it's very important to study science, because if you study science, you'll start to understand, why things matter in our world. He says gold is a pure metal which doesn't rust because it doesn't contain iron. Gold is the most non-reactive of all metals and is benign in all natural and industrial environments. Gold never reacts with oxygen, one of the most active elements, which means it will not rust or tarnish. Boom, 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 boom. Copper oxidizes, right. Cameron McLean said Anunnaki wanted that gold. Yo, I've heard about that too. Nah, Renee, it's your audio. Your audio got to get right, bro. You got to fix your audio. I'm good over here on my side. Said they use gold in space a lot. Also true. Also true. So there you go. You got your question answered. Makes sense why it was used in dental work for so long. Right. So, but there you have it. The importance of gold. Presentation is over. Thank you for everybody watching. Thank you to everybody who paid their tuition today via Cash App or Renee Vogel. Thank you. He sent me a Cash App or or super chats. I appreciate you guys. I'll hang around for a little while and talk to y'all. So the Anunnaki thing, right? The Anunnaki conspiracy goes, there's a couple, but I'll tell them both. I don't believe in the Anunnaki. There's actually a tribe or was a tribe, I can't remember, in Africa called the Naga. And it's like the origins of the word nigga or something like that. Anyway, so the Anunnaki allegedly come here. I think we have one extra chromosome than monkeys or something like that, or apes. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong or tell me, how that thing goes. But apparently they splice together some genes and add another chromosome and born's human, but we were created to mine gold for them. We've mined enough gold for them to do whatever it was that they needed to do. And then they left the planet and left us here. And that's why we're kind of like running around like ants, eating each other alive. Not literally, but you know what I mean. Said you can color other metals to look like gold, but the weight is a dead giveaway. Gold does not tarnish. Mm. Mm-hmm. There you go. That's your answer for why gold is so valuable. Oh, what time is it? I'll be with the Men of Order team. We're gonna be talking about the NFL racism later on the Men of Order YouTube channel, youtube.com/Men of Order. So you can join us there. We'll be 7 p.m. 8 p.m. I'll be streaming chess at 8 p.m. Dan Calloway went on Rogan? Really? I didn't know that. Thoughts on the Whoopi Goldberg incident? You'll have to rewind the video. I talk about Whoopi in the beginning. JJ, thank you. You can bite gold and leave a dent. Yeah, it's definitely malleable. I think the fact that gold is malleable is what also makes it. Like, imagine something that, you can bend and do all sorts of great things too, but doesn't decay. And it's this malleability that makes it very popular, as long as the durability, as we discussed. That's why you some of the most expensive audio equipment has gold wires. I never really studied the Aztecs. I studied parts of history around them, but not actually them. He said, thanks, Hotep. Great lesson. Hope more eyes see this. Yeah, I hope more eyes see this as well. I work on my numbers. I'll show you my YouTube numbers. You guys can see, like, I really don't do high numbers. I think because, you have to have, it's the microwave generation, and the microwave generation. Uncle Hotep's live right now. I'm probably going to head over there in a bit. But in the microwave generation, people want that short content. So let's pull up my content here, and I'll show you my back end live. And you'll see the views I get. I'll put this on your screen right now. It's not a lot. Especially like the intellectual stuff. It's not a lot. I don't get a lot of views. So let's see. Let's look here. Also, I can't monetize any of these things. It just says limited. This one says, the video I'm live right now, it says it's being monetized, but it's probably going to turn yellow like yesterday's presentation and say limited, not suitable for advertisers. But, I don't get many views. Hotep's Been Told You did 6K. Sonny Johnson interview did 4K. This is like must watch too. This is much watch TV. Sonny Johnson interview was just really, really educational. 3K on the Nazis, 1900 on yesterday's presentation. So I don't get a lot of views. I do look at the views, and because I'm a digital marketer in some ways, so I like to look at them and see what I could do to get more views and to get more eyes on it. But it's not my only metric with which I judge myself on, because that's just a terrible metric to judge yourself on. But I do look at it to see if the account is growing. So yeah. And y'all, y'all bless me. Y'all pay tuition, so I'm blessed in that way. How many subscribers? Oh wow! Look at this. I'm about to break another one. So that's the real number I look at, is subscribers. This is the number I really look at. How many subscribers do I have? And I'm about to break 61. I'm about to break 62. If you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button right now. Right now. What was the thing I said about democracy yesterday? I said democracy overrules common sense. Halima said black man content creator channels matter. Thank you, Halima. Black men who aren't liberal. Because the black men on the other side of the aisle get plenty of looks. But I'm about to break 62,000 subscribers. For a while, I was like looking at my subscriber count, and I'm like, this shit ain't growing. You know what I mean? And then look at this. I'll show you something else. Look at this. I don't know why this is. Maybe I'm just tripping. But there's a whole block right here. You see the gray? Like this whole gray situation says data temporarily unavailable. I can't even see that. Todd Sullivan, thank you, bro. He said, love y'all, peace. Appreciate you, man. But it just says data temporarily unavailable. All right, so I can't see my numbers during this time period. YouTube won't show it to me. I don't know if it's a glitch, everybody's experience, or it's just me, but it's kind of weird. Weird glitch in the system. But yeah, Hotep Nation is dedicated to homeschooling. HotepNation.com/donate. We appreciate all the support we get, and I can't wait to show you what we do with those funds. But we're definitely going to be supporting some children in the homeschooling community and do something really big for them. The more money we raise, the bigger we'll be able to do it, and we want to do it in a very meaningful way. We don't want to just say, hey, yeah, we bought them some pens and pencils. No, we're not doing that. That's whack and corny. We want to provide experiences that last a lifetime, things that they remember, like, wow, like, you know, I had a lot of fun at this event, or competitions, things of that nature. Said YouTube has been limiting smaller streamers according to some. Oh, okay. It is what it is. I don't harp on that stuff. Some people do. I don't. I just kind of just I'm here for y'all. You know, we got our little community. We look at this. I'm gonna put this on the screen. This is funny. Duke Lucas, he said, Hotep Jesus content, me, distractions. I gotta post that on my Instagram. That's fucking amazing. Thanks, bro. I appreciate you, man. But yeah, you know, like, you know, when we look at the trending topics or whatever's happening in the world, it's just full of distractions, man. Like, nobody's really talking about anything important. We're not educating each other. Like, today we learned about monetary policy. We learned about Bitcoin. We learned about economics. We learned about trade and foreign trade, laissez-faire economics, free trade, free market. We learned a lot today, right? Some of my stuff was reinforcing some of the information I understood. What else? You guys got two great sources, Hazlitt and Ben Steele, which you guys should definitely study. But the rest of the world, Charlie Kirk's trending. What did Charlie Kirk say now? Ron Johnson went on. No, that's old. Charlie Kirk warns the T movement is an introductory phase to get you to strip yourself of your humanity to mesh with machines, adding, if you stop being a man, then you can stop being a human being. I don't see anything wrong with that. That sounds about right. That sounds about right. Charlie Kirk is now urging state prosecutors to put Fauci in prison. Dr. Grifty for prison. I'm with that. I'm with that. I'm with that, man. Why not? So he's trending. But yeah, you know, the world is distracted, you know, talking about entertainment and whatever. And you guys have chosen to watch this, what some would deem boring content, I would deem intellectual content. But once intellectual content becomes more popular than entertainment, which means to distract the mind, right? Did you guys know that? Does anybody know that? You know, we look up etymology a lot. Let's do that last one and I'll get out of here. Let's have etymology. Let's go here. And every time I do this, I usually fail. Let's see. Entertain. See, it's completely different from what I read it years ago. It's completely different from what I read it years ago. What did they go back and like change these dictionaries? What the hell is going on, bro? I studied this long ago and I know it's not. They're just changing like. All right, so Merriam-Webster will right here, Merriam-Webster. Let's pull this up on your screen. What the fuck? To show hospitality, to entertain guests, to provide entertainment. But then it'll say entertain, to divert. 15th century meaning, divine, translation, to near. Let me see. So when you looked up a word, they used to give you this tree on Google. Here we are. There's this tree. So here they say to hold, maintain, continue, certain condition, treat a certain way. All right, let's see what they have here. So this is what etymology dictionary says. Same thing, right? To hold, amuse someone, right? But I could have sworn at one point I looked it up and it meant to distract. As you saw in the Merriam dictionary, they used the term divert. But then you look up meant, and meant means mind. I think it's Latin. I think you type in mind and then, yeah, mind, right here, men, yeah, men, and then mind, ment. So ment is like in Latin, is related to mind. Let me see if I can find it here. Google's so different than what it used to be. Lively spirit. Oh, here's one. It says, I want to take a look at, doesn't mean mind control. According to the game, the definition of a group is control. We can combine original Latin meaning to show the instrument, group of people, origin of the word government. Government does not mean mind control, Latin. However, you can take a further look at the Latin origins. Right. So this is the one they took us to. Latin word direct or rule, gubernate, govern. Meant is the suffix under the man. Right. Ain't within the meant and suffix of the mind. However, there's a common confusion that people make. In this sense, So basically, I'm fake news is what this is telling me. Gubernate turned governor, director rule. In Old French, they have two suffixes that could have been applied to the final meaning of government. Here we go. So meant means mind, meaning anything that with the suffix meant means it was connected to the mind. Okay, I knew I read this somewhere. Right. Well, Uncle Hotep's online. I don't want to take up all your time. We should go over there. Shout out to Uncle Hotep. Subscribe to Uncle Hotep's channel, youtube.com/Uncle Hotep. I'm out of here. Love y'all. Hotep and Bill.